Advance, North Carolina looks very small on the map, but there's one hidden advantage that most folks miss. And once they figure it out, they love a small town. And there's also another absolutely amazing advantage about Advance that people don't realize until they actually move there. Hey guys, what we're going to talk about today is Advance, North Carolina. And we're going to talk about all the pros and cons about living in Advance and figure out if it's the perfect place for you to make your home, or if we need to keep looking throughout the triad and figure out a better place to call home. So make sure you stay tuned throughout the entire video so you don't miss out if this is your forever home. If this is your first time to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe and tap the bell below. We want to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And if you have any questions about Advance or anywhere else throughout the triad, we'd love to be able to chat with you. You can call, text, or DM us, or hit the Zoom link below and set up a meeting where you can chat with us face to face. Just a little bit of a quick note about Advance. It is in Davie County. It is known for their great tax rate, schools. It has a little bit more land that you get, so you get a little bit more space for the money. The homes are not cheaper. So on one end, just know that if you're going to be looking at Advance, the budget needs to be a little bit higher. I kind of compare it to Summerfield or Oak Ridge, but on the other side of the triad. But it's very, very, very convenient to Winston-Salem. It's only about 19 or 20 miles right outside downtown Winston-Salem. So you can still hop on I-40, and that's one of the biggest advantages of living in Advance, is how accessible it is to I-40. Now, there is only one road in and out typically of Advance. I mean, there's a couple other exits you can hop on or off of, but the main exit that everyone hops on and off of is going to be a little bit more congested. So just know that it is super accessible to Winston-Salem, but that road can be kind of cumbersome during super busy time frames. So you kind of have to allow for a little bit more travel time, but that is some of the biggest draws. Also, if you love golf, that's why people move there, because Bermuda Run is right there, and that's the gated community, and it's a world famous golf course, as well as Oak Valley also has a golf course. So you've got two golf courses within a few minutes of each other. And then you've got this great area with beautiful large homes with larger lots. So it's a win-win. Advance is a great location to look at if you were looking to move to the triad. But let's jump right in and talk about all the pros and cons about living in Advance. The number one pro about living in Advance, we've already kind of chatted about it, is its accessibility to I-40. It's very accessible. When you live in Advance or Bermuda, you're just minutes from hopping on the highway. And so that's one of the biggest draws about living in Advance, is the accessibility of the highway and the ability to get to Clemmons or to the mall area or downtown in just minutes. So you can probably get to Clemmons. Clemmons is one of the closest areas to Bermuda Run and Advance. So you can probably get there in about 7, 8, 9 minutes. So you're in the mecca of restaurants and food areas and stores, etc., right in Clemmons or in Winston-Salem within 10 or 15 minutes. So you're not really far from everything, but it kind of feels like you are. And like I said, one of the biggest advantages or biggest pros is highway access living in Advance. The second pro about living in Advance is your weekends and the accessibility to outdoor activities. You're only minutes from Tanglewood, as well as different trails, and the river is right there. Tanglewood is full of activities, and there's a pool at Tanglewood, there's a golf course at Tanglewood. See, I forgot that. There's a third golf course within minutes of Advance in Tanglewood Park. So you can play golf, you can go to the pool, you can hop in the river. There's trails, so you can ride, run. There's a single track bike trail throughout Tanglewood. You can camp in Tanglewood. There's so much to do right there. And that's one of the advantages about living in Advance, is there's a ton just minutes away from such an amazing little area. The number 3 pro, we've kind of already chatted about this, but we'll talk about it a little bit more, is if you love golf, it is the best place for you to live in the triad, since there's 3 golf courses right there within minutes of each other. There's Bermuda Run, there's Oak Valley, and there's also Tanglewood. And I had forgotten that in the beginning, but Tanglewood Golf Course, it's also there. So if you love golf, it is a great place for you to call home because you have 3 golf courses within minutes of each other. And there's a lot of golf fanatics that find Davie County in Advance and they're like, this is where I need to live because I love golf and I want to play it every day. The fourth reason why Advance is such a great place to live is the accessibility to medical care. Over the years, they've added more medical facilities out in this direction. So we've got Clemmons Medical Facility. We've also got Davie Medical Center. So we've got a lot of medical facilities all within minutes of Clemmons and Advance. And it's so great that you've got all these medical centers within minutes of you. And you don't have to drive to Winston-Salem and hit up, Baptist or Forsyth Hospital. You actually can head to the hospital within minutes of your house. So that's a huge advantage that has changed over the years, that they've added these medical centers. And it's drawn a lot of people to that area because it's made it so much easier for them to live there, especially if they're aging. There is a lot of folks that live in the 55 plus community in Bermuda Run, and having the medical centers right there is so super helpful for folks. So that's a huge advantage. If the medical centers that are within minutes of Advance, Bermuda Run, and Clemmons, it's a great, huge advantage. And it's one of the biggest advantages of living in Advance now. We're gonna jump in here and ask a quick question. What matters more to you? Quiet space, great schools, or being able to get to restaurants, nightlife, and activity? Drop it in the comments and let me know whether it's school, space, or activity and nightlife. We're gonna change directions and talk about the cons. Now, there's only a few cons about living in Advance, so we're not gonna have a huge list, but there are some really important ones that we need to cover. Number one being walkability. Advance is not a super walkable area, so you're going to have a car, and it's going to be car dependent. Now, you can walk in different areas, and there's certain areas that there's sidewalks, and there's walking routes, and then Tanglewood has a lot of walking routes, but you're gonna have a car to get around the area. It is outside the downtown city area in Winston-Salem, so there's not going to be public transportation out in Advance, and you're going to have a car. It's just an area that if you're hitting any restaurants or grocery stores or even the different medical centers that we just talked about, you're going to have a car to get there. So that's the number one con. It's not walkable. The second reason that maybe Advance isn't the place for you is kind of wraps into the first con that we talked about, is that it's going to take a few more minutes to run your errands, to hit the grocery stores, to hit any of the restaurants, because it's not as walkable and it's a little further outside of Winston-Salem. So you're looking at a normal commute time from downtown Winston-Salem to Advance. Even though it's 19 miles, in normal driving conditions, it's probably going to take you 24 minutes to half an hour. So you're going to have to put that into your daily schedule. So that's a con. If you don't want to spend a few more minutes to get home and get to areas to run errands or go to the grocery store. Now, there is grocery stores in the area and very close to Advance, but for most of your shopping, you're going to have to hit up Winston-Salem, and you've got to take that into consideration when you're thinking about moving to Advance. A third reason why you need to consider whether or not Advance is the best area for you is that there's not a huge amount of dense living areas. And there is a lot of new construction going up in Advance, but mostly there's a lot of existing homes. Oak Valley is it's an amazing neighborhood and it's a very large neighborhood, but they're all existing. There's a few lots that you can build on in the neighborhood, but again, the price point is going to be higher than other areas in the Triad, and there's going to be a lot of existing homes. Now, I know that there's a lot of new construction going up in Advance because I've sold quite a bit of it out in Advance, but for the most part, you're going to look at existing homes or a home that you're going to have to probably think about building in the area because, again, there's not a ton of dense housing areas. It's a little bit more spread out and the lots are bigger. And that's kind of a pro, but for some people, they may not like that. And finally, the fourth reason why Advance might not be the place for you to live is, again, convenience and location, where you actually are at in Advance and what it's going to look like for your commute time, your location to grocery stores, restaurants, etc. You can be pretty rural out in Advance, and you got to take that into consideration that it depends on the location where you want to be. And you've got to really consider where you want to live in Advance and if it works for your commute time and what you are looking for in a lifestyle, just in general. If you're okay with the extra time to drive to the grocery stores, to get out to Highway 40, now it's very accessible again to Highway 40, but you're still gonna have an extra commute time because to get out to Advance, it takes a little bit of time to get through. Bermuda Run is very easy. You hop off the highway and you're in Bermuda Run. Well, Advance, it's a little bit further out there. So you've got to take into consideration where you're looking at in Advance and if it works for your lifestyle. So only you can decide whether or not Advance works for you. But just to wrap this up, let's talk about it. Advance is easy accessible from Highway 40. It's in Davie County. When you're looking at Advance, remember your budget could be a little bit higher, but you're looking for more space. You're looking for a quiet area. You may be also looking for an area around golf courses. You're going to be close to Tanglewood. You have a lot of advantages of living in Advance, but you've got to figure out if this is the lifestyle for you. There's a huge amount of advantages, and people also love the schools in Advance. So whether or not Advance is the perfect place for you to call home, only you can figure that out. But if you have any questions about Advance or any other areas throughout the triad, we love to be able to help you. People reach out to us every day. You can call, text, or DM us, or set up a Zoom meeting so we can chat face to face about your next move, whether it's today, tomorrow, or the next year.